Are you stuck in one of the big marriage pitfalls and unsure how to get out? Or would you like to just know what the most common marriage pitfalls are so you could avoid falling into them? Join me as I share with you the 5 most common marriage pitfalls I see and how you can avoid them. Hi and welcome. I'm Julia Woods, couples coach and trainer. I see 5 overarching marriage pitfalls among the thousands of couples I've worked with, and my husband and I fell into every single one of these ourselves. So let's look at what they are individually and how to avoid them. The first common marriage pitfall I see is leaving conflicts unresolved. When you and your spouse disagree on something or offend each other, how does it go when you try and talk about it? Do you each get defensive in your own way? Does one of you shut down? Does one of you get escalated? Does one of you storm out of the room? Does it get heated and then you stop talking about it and enter that awkward silence and avoidance phase where neither of you talks about it, but there's a tension between you that you can feel, and it keeps you distant from each other? Then one of you gets tired of the disconnection or the tension in the air, so you make a gesture towards connection and break the silence. This is the classic approach to not resolving conflict. I believe unresolved conflict is what creates the fault line in marriages. When couples divorce, it always comes back to the conflicts they didn't resolve that drove a wedge between them. So if you want to avoid this massively common, highly destructive pitfall, here's a tip. Learn to resolve conflict. I know that may seem very simple and a little too, basic, but I want to point out the most important word in there is learn. Learn to resolve conflict. Most couples believe they're supposed to know how to resolve conflict, or that needing to learn somehow is a sign of weakness, and that if they really loved each other, they would naturally resolve conflict. That is not true. The truth is, learning to resolve conflict requires us to grow our character. We will need to learn to improve our listening, grow empathy, develop deeper curiosity, and on the list goes of life-changing character traits that come as you learn how to resolve conflict and continue learning to resolve conflict as the challenges you face as a couple keep increasing. This is at the heart of the work I do. And if you want to learn to resolve conflict, the best resource I offer to help you learn is my couples retreat called Breakthrough. It is an incredible weekend set in a beautiful, relaxing, fun, and life-giving setting. Couples keep returning year after year because it transforms their communication and their marriage. You can find out more info in the description under this video. The second most common marriage pitfall is you try to get your way rather than learning to negotiate. Now let's think about it. Opposites attract. So you naturally are going to see things differently from each other. You aren't going to agree on things like how to discipline the children, how to run the household, how to spend your days off, how to budget money, or, all the basic day-to-day things that make life work. The common pitfall I see couples make is they just agree to disagree. She does it her way and he does it his way. But the problem is it creates a power struggle. Each spouse is constantly fighting for their approach and trying to prove that their spouse's approach isn't working and their way is better. This creates significant disconnection, and partnerships can't exist when each is trying to get the same place in 2 different ways. The key is to learn to negotiate. Now, what do I mean by negotiation? The ability to negotiate a new way that is a win-win for both of you, moving from my way or your way to our way. Yes, it does take more work. Yet the outcome is a deeper connection and significant partnership, plus a thriving marriage where you see how much better you are together than alone. You get to decide what you want. Negotiation starts by noticing there is your way and my way, And while both may have valid benefits, we need to negotiate our way. Our way is a win-win for both of you. And the better you get at negotiating, the more you will find our way winds up so much better than either of your individual ways. If you want to learn more about how to negotiate, check out my YouTube episode titled The Power of Negotiation. The third most common pitfall I see couples make is talking at each other rather than to each other. What does it mean to talk at each other versus talking to each other? It is all in the listening. Talking at each other is you're talking, but you're not actually listening or processing what's being said. You have an idea about how you think something should be or what you want your spouse to understand, and you are on a mission to get them to hear it. The problem is they aren't listening and you know it, so you get elevated in your approach and you keep trying to say it in different ways, hoping they're actually going to get it. The problem with that is you're both doing the same thing simultaneously. The opposite of talking at each other is talking to each other. In order to do that, you must listen first to yourself and then listen to each other in order to talk to each other. The one speaking needs to listen to themselves and first get clear on what they want to communicate. What is the purpose of your communication? Is there something you want and need from your spouse? Have you actually checked in to see if that's something they feel they can offer you right now? For example, if you just want your spouse to be a listening ear as you share about a struggle at work, have you asked them if this is a good time for them to listen? Or do you just jump into your conversation expecting them to know what you want and then get disappointed when they try and help you fix the problem? Because that's what they thought you wanted. Talking to each other requires listening to yourself first. What is it that you want to communicate? What is the outcome you're hoping for? What is it that you want and need from your spouse? Are they in agreement to offer that at this time? If you're being asked to listen, now, are you actually listening? Or are you listening but checked out or lost in the first point that was made at the beginning of the conversation and now you're inside your head? If you want to listen actively, you will need to check in and make sure what you're hearing your spouse say is actually what they're saying. Sure, you may hear the words they're saying, but as humans, we constantly add meaning to what we're hearing. This is automatic in our DNA. So active listening is sharing with our spouse what we heard them say and asking if we got that right. When each of you actively listens and communicates responsibly, you can be a huge resource to one another and avoid the common pitfall of talking at each other. The fourth most common pitfall I see couples fall in is losing connection. In today's approach to marriage, it all starts when a couple feels a connection. Through conversations and interaction, their connection grows. You laugh together and feel younger as you play and act silly together. This connection is the lifeline or the vital energy that keeps the relationship alive. It is what makes you want to say yes to spending the rest of your lives together. This magical connection it's precious. It's like the oxygen in the relationship, keeping it alive. Yet most couples take it for granted or don't realize how important it is to tend to it and keep it growing. Life gets busy as each of you pursue your careers and grow a family and responsibilities get bigger. It's easy to take it for granted and think that it will always be there because it feels so natural. And then one day you wake up and wonder where it went and how you got so disconnected. This is a huge pitfall many couples fall into. The best tip I have to avoid this pitfall or getting out of it if you've fallen into it is something I heard a couple of 50 happy years share. He said he and his wife met when they were both getting their doctorate degree. He said they were each studying and writing 16 to 18 hours a day. But he said they decided to start dating anyway, even though they both knew time would be a major challenge. They committed to find a way to go on a date every single week, no matter what. They fell in love and promised to keep that commitment going through their marriage. They've been married 50 plus years and said they have never missed one of their weekly dates. I think the problem is we lack creativity and we put a lot of rules on it. Like we have to find a babysitter or it has to be 2 hours in order to be considered a date. I want to invite you to get a lot more creative. If you want help, the very first link you will find in the description under this video is a link to my free 100 Deeper Connection prompts and ideas. It'll give you 50 conversation starters and 50 playtime ideas. Many of them cost no money and require less than 30 minutes. The last big pitfall I see couples falling into is having weak conversations. What I mean is they're scared to be honest with each other. They say what they think their spouse wants to hear or can handle hearing. This is craziness. This is your partner in life. You will face the biggest challenges and the hardest seasons with this person. If you have weak conversations together, your ability to overcome challenges and grow through hard seasons is greatly compromised. Your spouse sees you more than anyone else in the world. They see how you are on good days and how you are on those really hard days. They see what you are really struggling with. They know your strengths and your weaknesses. This is the person you want to be able to be boldly honest with. They are the one you want to be able to tell you the things you don't want to hear, but you need to hear. They are the ones you want to be able to call you up when you are playing small or call you out when you're self-sabotaging. They can be your greatest resource in living your greatest life. You may have heard the saying that behind every great man is a great woman. I think that goes the other way around as well. Behind every great woman is a great man. People who do great things have someone in their life who's willing to have fiercely honest and robust conversations with them. You each have the ability to do great things as you raise your kids and make a difference in the world through what you do. When you have weak conversations, you get weak connections, you get weak partnerships, and you get weak results in life. When you have robust conversations, you have robust connections, robust partnerships, and you are creating robust results in your life. It is up to you what you want. If you want really bold and robust connections and partnerships and results, you must stop having weak conversations and start having honest and open ones. You need to ask each other questions that feel really uncomfortable to ask. This is a powerful way to grow open and honest conversations. If you want help with this, I invite you to follow me on Instagram at HeyJuliaWoods, where in my carousel post, you will often find conversation starters for couples. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, would you give it a thumbs up and share in the comments below which of the 5 pitfalls you can see you and your spouse have fallen in and are ready to get out of. Hey, hun.
Yeah.
Which of these pitfalls do you think is the biggest one we fell in?
I think the listening. Listening and interrupting. I'll speak for my interrupting. You don't interrupt. I interrupt you.
I have that ability as well.